Hey guys, Maniac here with GameAccess.net. I just got back from the Quinni-Con. It was a convention being held at Quinnipiac University, which is pretty close to my neck of the woods. See, you got my badge right here. The cool thing was that they actually put my handle on it. I like that actually. They usually do that with fan conventions and stuff like that. When you still have the badge system just like you would with like PAX or Comic-Con or E3 for example. So like with all, I guess badges are ubiquitous. But the cool thing about the fan conventions, I've seen this and I've also seen it at the UConn and UConn. Instead of putting your real name on it, if you put any name at all, they put in the gamer tag or the handle or something like that. I thought that was kind of cool. What did I think of it? It was this weekend. It was Saturday and Sunday. I went on both days. I got to see what I could with a friend of mine who's a huge anime fan. Had a blast. And it's not just because that these events do not happen on my neck of the woods, because the truth is they really don't. The UConn was, I think, the closest thing that even remotely came to this, and that wasn't anime focused, but it was more generally focused, but I thought that was pretty close. But that wasn't happening this year, even though they had already hosted it. It just wasn't happening this year. And there's the Quinni-Con, which is further away, but they charge for that event. Other than that, as far as I know, there's really no kind of events that go on in my neck of the woods at all. I think the closest events that really happen here, I mean, there used to be nothing on this coast at all, which is kind of surprising because a lot of people actually live here. When I looked at the population in my state, it was actually pretty good. You know, I had a pretty good amount of people, especially, you know, and we were the last people to get anything. I think we were like, yeah, I mean, we get nothing here. We have, you know, nobody shows up here, nobody performs here, nobody does anything, there's nothing to do. And then I'm thinking the cost of living is so high. Why? There's nothing to do here. There's no reason to stay. Go somewhere else. You probably have a better chance of getting something done, or having some, or getting some, you know, doing something enjoyable. But all that aside, I think the closest events that really happened here was probably like the New York Comic Con and stuff, and that's only 5 years old. PAX is only two years old, and that was in Boston. And then there were just other events like I guess you would say there's other events, but they happen further away, like MagFest, which is I think in Virginia, and then there's Otakon, which happens in Maryland. Those are much further away. But for the most part, when it's gaming related, all that stuff happens on the East Coast. I'm sorry, on the West Coast. But all that aside, what did I think of the Quinni-Con? I enjoyed it tremendously. I've not really been to it. This was my first ever anime-focused event that I ever went to. But I had a friend I went with that was a severe anime guy. Like, he was the anime aficionado that I knew of. And just how knowledgeable was the guy that I went with about his anime. Well, I've known him for 12 years. And you know what? I'm just gonna say this story till later. There's actually a good story behind what happened at the event, just to show you what my friend's credentials were. But he's a friend I've known for like 12 years. And so what happened? Well, there were vendors set up. They were selling Japanese food, and novelties like you know, well, not just and also like novelties, but there was also vendors selling art. That was really cool. There was a gaming presence. They had free play systems set up. You just had to register for them. The cool thing was that they were switching out the games a lot. So they had like a Street Fighter Cross Tekken games going. They had Super Smash Bros. Brawl tournament at one point. There was a they played Dance Central 2. And that was like in one room, and then in another room they had strictly music games playing. They had Rock Band 3 with a lot of songs on it. They had, oh god, what else? Dance Dance Revolution. They had a couple of full-size pachinko games set up in a different room. They had a free play set. I'm sorry, they had a screening room set up where they were showing some stuff. I got to see probably one of my first animes that was not video game related actually there at that event. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was like. I don't remember its name because it was in Japanese, but it was kind of a parody type anime where even though it was animation, they were trying to make it look like there was constantly like screwing around with like the continuity and stuff like that. The narrator would be terrible about, it's like, why am I seeing this? Shouldn't I be seeing this or something like that? The camera would get whacked, but that's kind of funny because it's animated. There's no camera. Constant plot holes and just just things, scenes missing. The narrator referring to scenes missing. I thought it was really funny. I'm sure somebody's gonna probably post a comment on the screen saying, "Oh, it was this show," or "Oh, it was that show." I thought it was pretty funny. So that was cool. My friend actually recommended. He's like, "No, we're going in to watch this because I know you're gonna enjoy it." So I got to give him that. I also got to meet the guys who did, or I'm sorry, 2 out of the 3 people that do Pokemon Bridged. Pokemon Bridged, I haven't watched the Pokemon show probably since it came out. Which was kind of cool because actually the Pokemon Bridged people were actually showing, bridged those early episodes from like the first season and stuff like that, at least the first season that came to the United States. And it was so funny. I mean, I had never heard about that show before at all. I mean, obviously I had seen Pokemon years and years and years ago. But and I had played Pokemon Yellow, although I never beat it. I could never beat Pokemon. The very last guy. I run out of attacks on my Pokemon. I basically just run out of attacks by that point. It's like I had to do six fights or something like that at once. It's like my guys would just be out of attacks. And what would happen? What happened was that we got to meet those people. I got to meet Jesse. I can't remember the other guy's name, but basically No Whacking and One Kids Entertainment. I got to meet those guys. No Whacking did the voice of like pretty much the majority of the girl characters, like the Officer Jenny and the nurse, and of course Misty and Misty's sister, and I think and just a whole bunch of different stuff. And the guy that they got, he did the voice of Ash and a bunch of other characters. Really awesome people, really nice guys. Just were so great gracious about they're showing they were showing the stuff. They were taking questions from the people in the panel. So I thought that was really fun. On the second day, I got to see a panel with Leslie Wilkinson, who had done the voice for characters in Rumble Roses, and she said she'd done Street Fighter Cross Tekken, where she voicing Christy. Also said that she had done the voice in a few other Tekken games and stuff like that, where she voiced the female characters, female fighters. So I thought that was really cool. It was a really fun event. And they actually asked her, cool stories. I was just kind of interested in just asking them stories, because they mentioned that they had voiced all these different types of characters and stuff like this, all in the same events. It's like, how do you do that? For the Pokemon Bridge people, they said that it's actually easier for them because they actually write the characters that they, or write the dialogue and write the scripts. They actually said, Leslie had said that she had actually... also, in some cases, been asked to write dialogue and stuff like that. She mostly does, of course, the Japanese fighting games, because even though she was born in Japan, I believe she was born on an American military base or something like that. So she's actually bilingual, and only moved to the United States 4 years ago. But speaks English perfectly as well as Japanese, and is a huge fan of Japanese animes from the 1970s and 1980s. Older stuff that only came out in Japan or maybe had come out in the United States. And other cool things were the funny part is, and just to show you how cool my friend was, my friend knew all the Japanese animes that that she was talking about, or at least a majority of them. She was always saying, "Oh, I don't know anybody that can actually talk about these shows, because the problem with it is that I never know if I don't know if they actually came here or not, because I've been living in Japan all these years. I was living in Japan when they came out." She listed animes like Candy Candy, and there was one that translated out to Go for the Ace or something like that, which was about volleyball. My friend immediately knew what they were. Knew the translations, knew all that stuff, and was talking to her about it. And actually, I kind of left them alone because I kind of thought that was interesting. That he doesn't, he can't talk to me about that kind of anime. Although he shows me anime a lot. I kind of thought, okay, I'll leave them alone. I thought that was really cool. But the coolest part was actually a story that she said. One of the other questions I asked 2 questions. It was a small group. There wasn't even a dozen people at the panel because, like I said, the event was very small. And what had happened was that I asked 2 questions, and it was both about voice recordings, and because that was what the panel was about. And I said, "Do you have a favorite story?" And what Leslie said was, "Yes, actually, I'm going to tell this right now." She was in Japan doing a commercial for an organization that she wouldn't list for obvious reasons, and because she basically does more than just video game stuff. She also does voiceover work for commercials. She said she was the spokesperson for Panasonic for like 3 years. Sorry, putting my coffee away. And she was basically going in for a gig, just like a commercial gig. She goes in, she reads the script, and the last line in the script was basically sounded like this. I don't know how it was spelled. 24 hoes banking. Now this was an American job, meaning that, an English-speaking job. So she was going to be voicing in English this, but the script was obviously written by Japanese writers. And she looked at this like, this is not right. And it's not like it is over in here, she says. Over in Japan, you basically don't tell somebody you got the script wrong or you translated the script wrong. Or this doesn't work. You'd think that they'd listen if they said that. But really, then basically it's like, I gotta go talk to my boss. And they got to talk to their boss, and that boss has to talk to their boss, basically, all until it runs up the pipeline, basically. Which can take several hours, actually. All just because something got translated incorrectly and would not sound proper in English. And I'm sure bilingual Japanese speakers, English speakers, know for a fact that even if you translate a Japanese word for word, there has to be some type of, you have to get the syntaxes right and stuff like that, and that can, that sometimes takes somebody like an editor, an English-speaking editor, to do it, or else all your base R belong to us will be in your game, and not intentionally at that. So what happened was that she had another English-speaking friend who she had done a bunch of shows with previously. He was a good friend of, was a man, and he takes a good look at the script at her insistence and just starts laughing hysterically. Finally, they get her in the audio booth, and her friend is put in the engineering booth, and they basically came to the conclusion that she was going to be doing it both ways. She was going to be, because they basically told her, it's like, we had someone look at this. We had an English speaker look at this. That's what their insistence was that they had, and I'm just saying, if they actually had, fire him, because he's, fire him, because obviously he missed that. So she said that for about 20 minutes, she was sitting in a recording booth with her friend, hysterically laughing, going, while she was saying, 24 hoes banking, 24 hoes banking, 24 hoes banking, 24 hoes banking. I want to put that on her IMDb page. I want to list that one. Because I don't know if she's ever told that story before, but it is hilarious. That story needs to be attached to that woman, because she is just awesome, and that is such a funny story. I swear, that's the story she told. It was hilarious. And if you don't believe me that voice actresses actually do that, that's what they have to do. They can't just say things once. They basically have a line, they repeat it, so they make sure that they get the tone right. It's like they give the director or the voice recorder or whoever the voice director is options with the tone to make sure that the tone is right. So you don't say one line once, you say it 50 gajillion times, and so and that's what happens. That's what you're paid for. The fun part is, of course, they're not paid by the hour, they're paid by the gig. So sometimes that kind of thing is like, do I really want to start something? Because then I'll just be here 3 hours and be paid the same thing, basically. So she said she did both. She has no idea to this day which take they used. She doesn't know if they used 24 hours banking or 24 hoes banking. She thought maybe that was what they were going for. The possibility certainly existed. But, oh, it was that kind of banking? Where are my 24? So, yeah, I thought that was a great story. And so I think that's really what cons are. I mean, there was some great cosplay going on. There were some great events. I got some great stories to tell about that sort of thing. Is that really like all, that's really the best you could possibly ask for. I mean, and that's really the awesome thing about the convention. You meet some cool people, you have a good time, and you come back with some good stories. And Quinni-Con was certainly that. I really hope they do it next year. Until next time, guys, this is Maniac with GameAccess.net. Over and out. Take care.